الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Dear professors, doctors, brothers and sisters, welcome to our 12th Istac-World Professorial Lecture with the invitation of one of the great scholars of the Ummah, Professor Rajab SENTRUK, who is joining us today from Qatar, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, a warm welcome to you all, those who are in Malaysia here and elsewhere in other places in the world. First of all, I thank you for coming and participating in this very important Iwpl number 12, the Istac-World Professorial Lecture, inviting our scholar, Prof. Rajab, to be with us here today. Alhamdulillah, since we started this series of the professorial lectures of Istac a year ago, we managed to have 12 professorial lectures in which we engaged many scholars, leaders, and dignitaries. We invited ambassadors, prime minister, and we invited scholars and ulama from Malaysia and from other parts of the world. Alhamdulillah, today we are having one of the great scholars of the Ummah. Before I ask or request Professor Rajab to start his lecture, which will take from 45 minutes to an hour, and then we go for our questions and answers, I would like to introduce to you our scholar today. I will just take a brief time to introduce him as I received his CV, which is over than 30 pages, but I will select few information that tells a lot about our professor today. Professor Rajab SENTRUK is the Dean of the College of Islamic Studies at HAMAD bin Khalifa University. He was the founding president of Ibno Khaldoon University in Istanbul, 2017-2021, and USUL Academy. Dr. Rajab holds a PhD from Columbia University, Department of Sociology, and specializes in Islamic studies, ethics, social theories and methods, sociology of religion and education, social networks, civilization studies, and modernization and post-modernization. He served as a researcher at the Center for Islamic Studies in Istanbul and as founding director of the Alliance of Civilizations Institute. He is head of the International Ibn Khaldoon Society and sits on the editorial board of multiple academic journals. He has publications in English, Arabic, and Turkish. Among his books are Comparative Theories and Methods, Narrative Social Structure, Hadith Transmission Network, Open Civilization Towards a Multi-Civilizational Society and World, Ibn Khaldoon, Contemporary Readings, Malcolm X, Struggle for Human Rights. Dr. Rajab works has been translated into Arabic, Japanese, and Spanish, brothers and sisters. He sits also in many other positions and organizations. For example, STAR for Accreditation and Ranking, founder, president of the advisory board, member of the board of directors from 2020 and until present, Istanbul Circle Society for Multiplex Research, founder, 2018, Center for Excellence in Education. And his previous positions, he was Ibn Khaldoon University founding president, Fatih Sultan Mehmed Waqf University Alliance of Civilization Institute, founding Director General and Dean of Graduate School, and many other positions, brothers and sisters. Professor Rajab also published many books and many articles. Some of them are The Decline of the Decline Paradigm, revisiting the periodization of Islamic history. Another one is Education in Turkey, from multiplexity to uniplexity, education of the interior, principles and application of Islamic education. Many other works, brothers and sisters. It's really a great honor to have with us here Prof. Rajab today to talk to us on a very important topic, which is the contributions of Ibn Khaldoon to sustainable development and value-based education. As you are all aware, Ibn Khaldoon is one of the great scholars who developed the science of Ilm al-Umran. And the Ilm al-Umran of Ibn Khaldoon doesn't only focus on one area, but it's a kind of a multi and transdisciplinary model of looking at civilization, the rise and fall of civilizations from different perspectives. I remember a few years ago, I met with Prof. Rajab in Istanbul, and in our discussion, he mentioned, it comes that we talk about Ibn Khaldoon, and he mentioned to me one very important idea. He mentioned that even our fiqh is considered a sociology. From this perspective of looking at fiqh and Islamic knowledge, Islamic thought, and the contributions of Ibn Khaldoon, I welcome Prof. Rajab to deliver his professorial lecture, and you have, Prof, 45 minutes to 1 hour, and then we will go for questions and answers. Welcome, Prof. Rajab.
Thank you very much for this generous introduction, Professor Abdul Aziz.
Islamic knowledge, Islamic thought, and the contributions of Ibn Khaldoon. I welcome Prof. Rajab to deliver his professorial.
And so there is someone else imitating your voice. Okay. So thank you very much for this generous introduction. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. So we will be talking today about Ibn Khaldoon's contribution to building sustainable civilization and value-based education. So today, sustainability became a common concern for the whole world. And we hear a lot of talk about sustainability, and we as Muslims, how we should approach to the issue of sustainability from an Islamic perspective, in particular driving from our intellectual tradition. So I will try to shed light on this issue from Ibn Khaldoon's perspective and demonstrate the crucial link, between value-based education and civilizational sustainability. So I will talk about first what's a civilization, because this is very important to clarify in the beginning. And I will also talk about 5 stages of rise and fall of civilizations according to Ibn Khaldoon, which he calls Atwar Khamsa. Then I will bring up this question, is decline inescapable according to Ibn Khaldoon's theory? How can we ensure civilizational sustainability? What's the way to epistemic sustainability and moral sustainability? These are the issues that I'm going to talk about. So the major question is, can we have civilizational sustainability amid the challenges that emerge naturally, which brings about the fall of civilizations. And what's the way for it? So Islamic civilization survived for 15 centuries. How can you make it survive without any corruption, without any temperament, in a sahih way for the next 15 centuries? It is transmitted to us without any corruption, without any temperament. How can we make sure that our grandchildren also have the authentic understanding of Islam? Or the fall of civilization are inevitable. So that's the major question for us when we talk about civilizational sustainability. So what's a civilization? So according to some people, there is only one civilization in the world with capital C, and anybody who wants to be civilized must join this civilization, and it's the Western civilization, and they are the civilized people, and they have a mission to civilize the whole world. But this is criticized even by Western scholars and thinkers. One of them is Norbert Elias. In his book, The Civilizing Process, he wrote that and the consciousness of their own superiority, the consciousness of this civilization, from now on serves at least those nations which have become colonial conquerors, and therefore a kind of upper class to large sections of the non-European world as a justification of their rule, to the same degree that earlier the ancestors of the concept of civilization, polites and civilité, had served to court the aristocratic upper class as a justification of theirs. So the concept of civilization is used to justify European superiority, exceptionality, and also their colonization and exploitation of the world. And this perspective is not only based on technology only and progress only. So this is the critique of Norbert Elias of the claim that there is only one civilization with capital C. So this idea that there is only a single civilization is criticized. We accept that there are multiple civilizations in the world, and Ibn Khaldun's view about civilization, provides a very nice theoretical and conceptual foundation for this perspective. So there is somebody else before Ibn Khaldun, Al-Farabi. He wrote a book called Al-Ilm al-Madani, and he mentions in his Ihsa al-Ulum that civilization is a subject for a particular discipline. And actually Ibn Khaldun also mentions about Farabi, but Ibn Khaldun finds him more idealistic in his approach to civilization, not empirical. So Ibn Khaldun defines civilization as human society. Al-Ijtima' al-Insani, al-Madaniya, al-Umran. These are the three terms he uses for civilization. So he wrote that أن الاجتماع الإنساني ضروري. So civilization is necessary. ويعبر الحكماء عن هذا بقولهم الإنسان مدني بالطبع. And the philosophers explain this by saying that human beings are by nature civilized. So there isn't like a civilized and uncivilized people. Like all human beings, they are civilized. أي لابد له من الاجتماع. So that means they must live in a society الذي هو المدنية في اصطلاحهم وهو معنى العمران. And this is in their terminology, the philosophers like Ibn Sina, Farabi, Ibn Rushd, they call اجتماع الإنساني, the human society, al-Madaniyya. And he says, this is what I call al-Umran. So there's al-Umran, al-Madaniyya, al-Ijtima' al-Insani. Al-Ijtima' al-Insani or al-Ijtima' al-Bashari is mostly used by fuqaha and متكلمون. As Professor Abdulaziz Barghouth mentioned, civilization is a subject of fiqh as well, not only ilm al-umran. And Ibn Khaldun was himself a faqih. So you cannot understand Ibn Khaldun without knowing fiqh, especially usul fiqh, because his theoretical and methodological understanding is grounded in fiqh and usul fiqh. The subject matter for fiqh is human society and human action, amal. So fiqh studies human action, amal, and society. So we have several disciplines studying civilization, and they are interlinked with each other. Our philosophy is one of them. Ilm al-Umran is another one, and fiqh is another one, and they are all interrelated with each other. So al-Umran, according to Ibn Khaldun, as I have already mentioned, al-ijtima' al-bashari, al-ijtima' al-insani, that means society. So human beings must live in society. Without society, they cannot survive. But what brings people together to form a society? What's the secret of it? What glues people together to form a society? The answer Ibn Khaldun provides is al-asabiyya. So this is a concept which is very difficult to translate to any other language. I think we should keep it as it is. I mean, it may roughly be translated as social solidarity or group feeling. It is the power that keeps people together, like in the family, in the community, in the nation, in the ummah. But if asabiyya weakens, the community dissolves. So Ibn Khaldun suggests that if there is a society, there is civilization. Because for him, society and civilization, these are synonymous. But societies, sometimes they live as nomads, and he calls this al-Umran al-Badawi. And sometimes they live in cities, and he calls this sedentary civilization. So two types of civilization, nomadic civilization and sedentary civilization. So there is nobody out of civilization. There is no uncivilized people, unlike those who claim that there is only one civilization in the world, and it's represented by the West. So according to Ibn Khaldun, the human society is not static, but changing and evolving. So change is unchangeable characteristic of society and civilization. So evolving from small groups to larger groups, from nomadic to sedentary society. Just like human association, al-Umran is necessary for the survival of the individual human being. Political authority, mulk, is also necessary. Economy is also necessary. Religion is also necessary. Law is also necessary, for the society to exist. So Ibn Khaldun uses the ontology of his time. He says that society is the jawhar, al-Umran is the jawhar, and all these necessary attributes and qualities, these are al-awarid, the essential properties of society or civilization, like state, religion, progress, either progress or backwardness, population, nomadic or settled life, this asabiyya, science, arts, religion. These are the essential properties and attributes of civilization or society. So when you talk about society, we have to take these things into consideration as well. And then these attributes are organized differently in Al-Umran Al-Hadari and Al-Umran Al-Badawi. So there are different ways, like state functions, religion functions in nomadic societies and in sedentary societies. But even the nomadic and sedentary does not mean static. They also go through many changes all the time. And Ibn Khaldun says the biggest mistake for social scientists is not to take change into consideration. So this is the summary of Atwar Khamsa, like 5 stages of the life cycle of a civilization, of a society. So you see that first there's the foundation stage, and then personalization of the power stage, and then the growth and expansion stage, and then the stagnation stage, and the decline and disillusion stage. So in the foundation stage, there are successes, and there is strong group feeling, strong asabiya, and bond of lineage is very strong, and there is high chivalry, high morality, and there is high loyalty to the leader, and strong obedience to tradition and religion. And this is usually in the Bedawi period. Bedawi may be translated, today as like people in the peripheral people. But the last stage is characterized, the decline and dissolution stage, with waste and squandering, a state with the senility disease, lack of money, unfaithful soldiers, immoral lifestyle, imitating stronger states, like the one we do today, like modernization and westernization, blaming for ancestors' actions. Like if there's anything wrong, you blame the people like previous generations. Lack of stronger asabiya, like lack of strong solidarity. So this is the stage of dissolution. But then there are intermediate stages like personality of power, growth and expansion, and stagnation. So the question is, can we avoid stagnation and decline? So growth is good. We want development. We want prosperity. We want a stronger economy. But according to Ibn Khaldun, when you have growth and expansion, there is leisure and tranquility. Big achievements in architecture, literature, science, and art develop. Big cities are established. No threat from outside or inside. The state becomes very wealthy. They make like new laws and the luxury life. But then, this prosperity causes satisfaction and peacefulness, inexperienced leaders to emerge, and they have weak characters, and then incompetent bureaucracy, and everyone desires for luxury, courage disappears, unwillingness to make war, to defend the country. Everyone likes comfortable life, lavish lifestyle. They like money, and they develop like bad habits. So this kind of paradoxical, growth and development leading to stagnation and decline and dissolution. So is this predetermined, or there is a solution for this? So this is the major question. So I call this Khaldoonian paradox. The more progressed a civilization, the more vulnerable it becomes to foreign forces, to be defeated and decline. So economic and cultural progress, if the necessary measures are not taken, eventually erode the moral and military power of society. So this is Ibn Khaldun's view. So if you don't take necessary measures, eventually moral foundations are eroded, then you lose your military power, economic and political power. So this paradox may help us understand what happened to the Muslim world, as the decline paradigm can no longer stand against grounded research and newly discovered hard data from the primary source of archival materials. So today, the way to explain what happened in the Muslim world after First World War is this decline paradigm. Like we declined, and we got defeated. But Ibn Khaldun offers a different explanatory model to what happened in the Muslim world. They were defeated because not because they declined, but because they were too civilized, too progressed. This kind of prosperity, luxury and leisure not decline, made them lose their military power, made them lose their asabiya to defend their country against the foreign powers. This question is very important. Is decline inescapable, or there is a solution? So Barbara Stowasser, is a German scholar, says that it is not necessary for every social organization, like the state or society, to go through these 5 stages. Permanency is possible if God's law is followed by people. This is what she says, according to Ibn Khaldun. So underneath his pragmatism, Ibn Khaldun let us perceive his deeper conviction, the conviction that adherence to the true religion can and should ensure the creation of God's kingdom on earth, an everlasting golden age without any decline. This can be ensured only by adherence to true religion. If people adhere to the true religion, then eternal God's kingdom on earth, everlasting golden age is possible. If and when this is achieved, he tells us civilizations need not and will not rise and fall again. So I also agree with Barbara Stowasser that the decline is not predetermined. It is not inescapable. If adherence to true religion, to the Sunnah, to Islam is there. But how can we ensure this? How can we ensure civilizational sustainability through adherence to the true religion of God? So there are 2 things I suggest: sustaining the essence and properties of civilization, or more technically, Professor Osman Bakar will understand this, preserving the jawhar and awarat of civilization. This is the language Ibn Khaldun uses, a technical language. So the essence of civilization is its identity, which is mainly shaped by its worldview. And this worldview needs to be maintained. I call this epistemic sustainability. This epistemic sustainability. And the second thing that needs to be preserved is the property of civilization, the awaras, such as social solidarity and material prosperity. This is what I call moral sustainability. So if we can ensure epistemic sustainability and moral sustainability, then the outcome is civilizational sustainability. But if we lose our epistemic foundations and moral foundations, our society will collapse. Economy cannot survive without this epistemic foundation, without this moral foundation. So this paradoxical relationship between economic development and civilizational sustainability was the impact of material prosperity and technological advancement on civilizational sustainability. So we have to be very careful about this delicate balance and relationship between economic development, technological development, and epistemic sustainability and moral sustainability. Because Ibn Khaldun warns us against this. So what's the way for epistemic sustainability? My answer is multiplexity. Multiplexity is a translation of Arabic term maratib, which literally means hierarchy or levels. So multiplexity typically characterizes the Islamic worldview in at least one aspect. It provides a multi-layered understanding of reality, knowledge, and truth. Let me briefly explain these things. So what's multiplexity? When I say multiplexity, I mean 3 essential philosophical components. First, multiplex ontology, which is translated maratib al-wujud, multi-layered existence. And then multiplex epistemology, which is maratib al-ulum, multiple layers of knowledge. And then multiplex methodology, maratib al-usul, multiple layers of methodology. So from the materialist and idealist perspective, you have only one layer of of existence. Only one type of knowledge is scientific. The rest are not accepted as scientific knowledge. And there is only one single method for scientific research. But from the multiplex perspective, there are multiple levels of existence, and there are multiple types of scientific knowledge, and there are multiple types of scientific academic methods. I mean, these issues have a lot of details. I'm not going to go into these details in this presentation. These three philosophical foundations provide, a ground for multiplex meaning, maratib al-ma'ani, and multiplex normativity, maratib al-ahkam, and multiplex truth, maratib al-haqaiq. This is how our epistemic system is composed, or our worldview is structured. So multiplex ontology includes material world, non-material world, and the divine world. Like visible, invisible, and the divine world, alam al-shahada, alam al-ghayb, and alam al-ilahi. And maratib al-ilm, the multiplex epistemology, involves mainly three types of knowledge. Knowledge derived from sense perception, knowledge derived from reason, and knowledge derived from al-khabar as-sadiq, revelation, through reports. These are the objective sources of knowledge. And you see that this is inclusive, because in the West, either you are empiricist or rationalist. But here we have an inclusive perspective, a pluralist perspective, accommodating both empiric and rational perspectives, but also divine revelation, the prophethood. These are objective sources of knowledge, but also Islamically, Hads, Ru'ya, Ilham, Keshf, these are also accepted as sources of knowledge, but these are subjective. They cannot be used in public domain to make any academic arguments or any argument in social debates. You can use them in your private life. So this is like briefly multiplex epistemology, maratib al-ilm. And then the multiplex methodology, it involves like two types of methods, the Nazar method and the Tasfiyah and Tazkiyah method. So the Nazar is objective and rational. It's used in academic disciplines, but there are two types of Nazar. Nazar Aqli, pure reasoning, and Nazar Shar'i. So Nazar Aqli is used in philosophical inquiry and empirical inquiry, like natural sciences, and also in Imran, like social sciences. And Nazar Shar'i incorporates Nazar Aqli, but adds on it Wahi as well. So it is used by such disciplines as Kalam, Fiqh, Usul Fiqh, Furu Fiqh, Hadith, Tafsir. These disciplines use Nazar Shar'i. So they incorporate Nazar Aqli plus the Wahi. So Nazar Aqli is our common ground with non-Muslims. We can do empirical research with non-Muslims because we operate with Nazar Aqli method. I mean, we can go into lab and do research on COVID in the lab, with Chinese and Americans, and no problem. Because Nazar Aqli is our common ground with other civilizations, other societies. But religious reasoning, Nazar Shari, is only for Muslims. Because Muslims accept Quran and Sunnah as the source of knowledge. So if you can make an argument based on Quran and Sunnah with other Muslims, but not with non-Muslims. You have to use Nazar Aqli when you argue with them. But then there is also in Islam subjective and irrational, not irrational, irrational method, which is called Tasfiyah and Tazkiyah. It's used by Tasawwuf. It's also derived from the Quran and Sunnah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فَيُعَلِّمْكُمُ اللَّهُ. This is subjective and irrational. It's this knowledge is gifted by Allah Ta'ala. It's called al-ilm al-wahbi, and the knowledge gained by nazar is called al-ilm al-kasbi, acquired knowledge. So what's the way to moral sustainability? So Islamic education combines ta'lim and tazkiyah, which is academic education as well as moral education. In the Quran, Allah Ta'ala introduces the method of education of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by saying, يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. So he teaches them the al-kitab and al-hikmah. So there is something outside the Quran also, al-hikmah and yuzakkihim, tazkiyah. So ta'lim and tazkiyah, rational education and spiritual, moral, ethical education, these are all combined by Rasulullah in his pedagogy, in his education method. So this is the way for us, to combine values and academic education in our pedagogy. So Islamic education is always value-based education. But unfortunately, in the period of modernization, we just focused on ta'lim. We forgot tazkiyah part of it. That's why we have so many social problems, because the moral character is not well grounded, in our young generations, because their education focused exclusively on the ta'lim aspect of it. So if you want to make our civilization sustainable, we have to bring ta'lim and tazkiyah together in our curriculum, in our schools, once again, and our schools should maintain this multiplex worldview plus this value-based education, inshallah ta'ala. So ta'lim, as I have already mentioned, it's the intellectual and academic education, professional education using nazar aqli method or nazar shar'i method. And tazkiyah is the moral education. Both the ta'lim and tazkiyah is grounded on a particular understanding of human being. Because the subject of education is a human being, and Islamically we accept that a human being has aql and nafs and qalb, three things, and nafs and aql, they always conflict with each other, and the purpose of moral education is to make aql triumphant over nafs. So there's a conflict between hedonistic self, which is called nafs, and reason, which is called aql. The purpose of moral education or tazkiyah or tasfiyah is to make aql triumph over hedonistic self and control it. So that's the ultimate purpose of moral education. This is tahqiq, in tazkiyah, and there is tahqiq in ta'lim. So the ultimate purpose of Islamic education is to elevate the student from taqlid to tahqiq. Tahqiq in nazar aqli, tahqiq in nazar shar'i, and tahqiq in tasfiyah and tazkiyah. But they have different procedures and methods. We cannot go into details at the moment. So in conclusion, I would like to say that the strategy for a holistic model of sustainability is rooted revival. So rooted revival, I translate to English as التجديد المؤصل. التجديد المؤصل. We need to revive Islamic civilization, but preserving its roots, because the branches of a tree is proportionate with its roots. If you cut the roots, you cannot grow a tree. So our strategy should be rooted revival at Tajdid al-Muassal. This is the method of ensuring civilizational sustainability. And Ibn Khaldun teaches us that we can build a sustainable civilization by ensuring epistemic and moral sustainability. The asabiyya, the religion. If this is preserved, civilization is preserved. But if you lose your epistemology, your epistemic foundation, your moral foundation, everything else built on it, economy, politics, they will also collapse. But there is a paradoxical relationship between moral development and economic development. The economy should not lead us to an extravagant consumption. It should be contained through moral education and guided. So epistemic sustainability is possible by maintaining and constantly renewing and reviving the multiplex worldview. This is through ta'lim, the academic and rational education. And moral sustainability is possible through value-based education, which is called tazkiyah in the Quran. Thus, Islamic civilization sustainability must focus on moral, cultural, and intellectual sustainability beside environmental, technological, military, and economic development. So today, there is like so much focus on environment, technology, military, economic, and political development and sustainability. But the real issue, the foundation of all these things is kind of neglected. So I wanted to draw your attention to the epistemic sustainability and moral sustainability by driving from Ibn Khaldun. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Prof. Rajab, for this wonderful lecture. MashaAllah, you have summarized a great kind of a model from the Ibn Khaldun Umran science. I think that's really something wonderful. We see in your brief, simple, yet sophisticated lecture and framework. It's sometimes hard to see the relevance of Ibn Khaldun thought in many writings of those scholars who worked on Ibn Khaldun. But I see that you have created a kind of a framework where we can see how the thoughts, ideas of Ibn Khaldun are really, after all these long centuries, still relevant, and we can really make use of the ideas and views of Ibn Khaldun as far as the idea of sustainable civilization, responsible civilization, value-driven civilization, and also value-driven education. I think the idea of multiplexity and the layers of the Islamic approach to Umran is a really wonderful idea. We really thank you, Prof, for all these ijtihadat and contributions, and we wish to read your books and articles, and maybe we can have them in Istac here, so the ummah here and the scholars can benefit. Your idea also on epistemic sustainability and moral sustainability is really a great idea. We need to work on this, and inshallah, I think the audience today here is a very special audience: scholars, professors, doctors, researchers, and postgraduate student, and I think they will have good contributions, inshallah, to this. This is just a brief summary of the many great ideas that you put forward today, and inshallah we will have other platforms and events to explore more. Prof, if you don't mind, we will have to get some to go to the question and answer session. So I would like to start. We have some questions in the chat already, and I have received some questions here. One of the questions, Prof, if you may look at this. Prof, thank you very much for your excellent lecture. Do you think still the idea of Ibn Khaldun, the cyclical interpretation of the evolution of civilization, which you mentioned, the five the stages, do you think it's still relevant to our time, as we are living in a kind of a universal civilization where everything now is in look like too close, too sophisticated, too complicated. And how do you see that idea of the cyclical development or evolution of civilization implemented today?
Thank you very much for this question. I have established the Ibn Khaldun Society, International Ibn Khaldun Society in 2006, together with Farid Al-Attas and Bruce Lawrence and many other colleagues who came to make presentations in 2006 Ibn Khaldun conference in Istanbul at ISAM. There we decided that we will show relevance of Ibn Khaldun through a method, which is applied Khaldunism. We called it applied Khaldunism, al-Khalduni at-Tatbiqiyya. Applied Khaldunism. We said we don't want the praise of Ibn Khaldun. We don't want like how great he is. But the best way to show it is to get an idea of Ibn Khaldun and use it in shedding light or solving, analyzing, and explaining a current problem in the world. So my lecture is an example of this applied Khaldunism, to a current and pressing question today. And this I address the issue of like a cyclical history. So this cyclical history is not predetermined, as I have mentioned. If certain measures are taken, this 5 stages of history may be prolonged. Like a civilization may survive, not only for 120 years, but many centuries, if the negative impact of material progress is avoided. Negative impact of economic and financial development, if it's controlled and avoided, then civilization may survive for many centuries and decades. This is a true understanding of Ibn Khaldun. But if these measures are not taken, if you let the things develop by themselves without any intervention, then these stages will take place one after another. So this is how I see Ibn Khaldun's cyclical understanding of history.
MashaAllah. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Related to this, we have Dr. Salih Mashush here from IIUM asks, is there any attempt to understand contemporary Middle East political systems shift of power by applying Ibn Khaldun theory? Here in Southeast Asia, we have Professor Farid Al-Attas wrote on this topic. What is your comment, Prof, on this?
Our dear friend Farid already answered this question. He demonstrated that Ibn Khaldun's approach to political sociology is very applicable today, not only to Middle East but everywhere. We can apply Ibn Khaldun's perspective to what's going on in the world today, like in Europe, in Ukraine, in other parts of the world. This is what we do at the International Ibn Khaldun Symposium. We ask scholars, to apply Ibn Khaldun's theories, methods, concepts to analyze what's going on in the world today. And inshallah, next one we can do it with you together, jointly. Applied Khaldunism to understand what's going on in the world. So this is the best way to serve Ibn Khaldun, to show he's relevant today, and he offers us a framework that's applicable to understand the questions of this world today and solve them.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Before we proceed, I would like just to thank our viewers, participants who are in the YouTube channel also, and here in the Zoom. And if you have questions, please just paste them and we will read them, inshallah. Prof, related to the same type of questions, one of our participant here, Shazwanuddin, asking, how do we avoid asabiya feeling, not to become a racial feeling, means trying to avoid it from its real meaning and impact in the Khaldoonian model?
Yes, there are different types of asabiya, and this, racist asabiya is one of them, but as Muslims we are against this kind of asabiya because Ibn Khaldun is a sociologist, like he's observing the empirical reality in the world. Some people may gather around like racist solidarity, but as Muslims we reject that kind of unity or solidarity. As from an empirical perspective, we have to recognize that there are different types of asabiya, and some of them turn into racism. But the asabiya of the ummah, based on this Islamic principles, this is the best way to protect asabiya from turning into racism. So this unity based on Islamic principles.
Thank you, Prof. I think that's great. Can I ask Prof. Dr. Abdul Wahid to give his direct question to Prof. as you raise your hand? Go ahead, Dr. Abdul Wahid.
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, Prof, for such a very informative, and I really benefited a lot from it. My question is related to the previous questions asked, which is now we are actually, most of the things that Ibn Khaldun was addressing specific civilization. And but now most of the things that we are facing in our world is global, and like most of the environmental issues, technological advancement, and many other issues that we are going to face or we are facing now. So and also how relevant it is, the theory of Ibn Khaldun, and how to create this al-asabiya, the positive asabiya that I am talking about, to bring all these people together from different ideologies, different backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, from the West, from the East, to come together and build this asabiya in preserving and protecting our global civilization.
Yes, this is a very good question, and I addressed this question in my book, Open Civilization. There I argue that we entered the era of open civilization. Today civilizations have no walls, no borders. They are all like intertwined and intermingled. Today we have multi-civilization society, because people from different civilizations, they get together and live together. Maybe in the classroom you have like Africans, Asians, Chinese, Malaysians, coming together and studying together. So Ibn Khaldun's theory is a global theory of civilization. First, he accepts that there are multiple civilizations in the world and they coexist. This is very important against those who claim there is only single civilization in the world. So he accepts that as long as there is social order, social system, this is a civilized society, they have their own civilization. So he accepts there's a plurality of civilizations in the world, not just Islamic civilization, but there are many other civilizations in the world. So this kind of acknowledgement and recognition is very important. Of course, he does this through empirical observations. And then he talks about like how we can maintain this plurality in the world, because he's faqih. You have to like understand, especially like Maliki fiqh, you know, he was driving from. In our fiqh, it's based on the Adamiyya principle. Our law, our morality, our political system is based on the Adamiyya. So every Adami is protected because Islamic law makes rules for Adamis, for all human beings, not just for Muslims. It's a universal law. It's a universalistic law defining rights and duties of every human being, not just Muslims, not just citizens of the Islamic State, but all human beings. And this is true, especially like Maliki law, Hanbali law, Hanafi law. You know, this takes another lecture, you know, on the principle of Adamiyya and how it's implemented in our law and political system. I mean, look at India, for instance. There are people who are not Ahl Kitab, not Christian, not Jew, but they lived under Islamic political rule for so many centuries. It is due to this principle of Adamiyya. So Islamic paradigm is very inclusive for all religions and all people, and this is the reason why Ibn Khaldun recognized different types of civilizations. In any society is a civilized society, and they have right to exist, and this is very applicable today as well in this age of globalization, which I call open civilization. And I have an article on this. I recommend Sociology of Civilizations from Ibn Khaldun perspective.
MashaAllah.
Thank you,
Prof. Mentioning the idea of globalization and global realities, and our sister Marriott from Peru here is asking, Doctor, thank you for such brilliant lecture. My question, Ibn Khaldun formed his sociology framework based on society at his time. With the virtual reality, the entire concept of society has changed. If Ibn Khaldun lived in the 21st century, do you think he would redefine the concept of society to include global virtual reality?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is also a very good question. Ibn Khaldun, in his theory of civilization and society, as I have mentioned, accepts that there is Jawhar and Araz of civilizations. So there are like a permanent features of civilizations and changeable features. And those changeable, features, they're like very accidental, very peripheral, and then like very persistent features. So he doesn't universalize the society in his time to all times. He recognizes that there are permanent, features of society, there are persistent features of society, and there are peripheral and accidental features of society. So he's very much aware that society is something dynamic, changeable. As I have mentioned in my lecture, according to Ibn Khaldun, change is the unchangeable feature of society. So that's why his theory is still applicable. But if he took the society in his time and universalized it, then it would be outmoded and obsolete today. But his theory is a theory of change. As I have explained, like this Atwar Khamsa, these 5 stages, etc. It's not all about change, and this is what we are trying to demonstrate in our International Ibn Khaldun symposiums, where we adopt applied Khaldunism.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I think similar, in the same vein, our Professor Khaliq Ahmed says here, life owes to change, and change is a law of life. Hence, Illa is important condition for new religious norms. Unfortunately, our traditional religious schools are not capable of introducing new challenges emerging from science and development, and vice versa. Your comment, Prof, on this?
Those who don't understand change, they are not traditionalists. Because our traditionalist scholars like Ibn Khaldoon, he's very much aware of the change. And our fuqaha also are very much aware of the change. Those who don't understand change, they are pseudo-traditionalists. Tajdeed is part of our tradition. So like Ibn Khaldun analyzed what's changeable, what's not changeable. And if something is changeable, why it changes, and the procedure through which each changes. And then the fuqaha also studies what are the permanent principles of Islam and what are the changeable principles of Islam, and those changeable issues, what's the method to follow when we deal with those changeable issues. And this is all outlined in our Usul al-Fiqh. Like when you read traditional fiqh books, which were like authored like more than 1,000 years ago, they always talk about change, those who don't understand change, don't appreciate change, don't know how to manage the change, how to respond to change, they are not real traditionalists. They are pseudo-traditionalists. Because our tradition has inbuilt in it the concept of tajdeed, the concept of taghayyur al-azman and taghayyur al-ahkam. But it does not mean like everything is changeable, okay? So there is changeable and unchangeable. And Usul al-Fiqh teaches us what's changeable, what's permanent. And also those changeable things, what's the method, to deal with those changeable issues. Not everyone can change it, and sometimes people want us to westernize ourselves, or adopt those some of the like postmodern or modern ideas. We have filters, we have a method to critically analyze what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. But our ulama should not only react to the change, they should be leaders of the change. They should be makers of the change. They should lead the waves. This is traditional ulama's role. Our traditional ulama, this is how they behaved. This is how they acted. But today we have pseudo-traditional ulama. They are very passive, and they only react to what's going on. This permissible, this not permissible. The true traditional ulama, they are the leaders of the change. They make change according to Quran, according to Sunnah, according to our fiqh, according to our fiqh. And this is what I call at-tajdeed al-mu'assal. At-tajdeed al-mu'assal. Not rootless, but rooted. Mu'assal means rooted. Mu'assal means methodological. Mu'assal means principled. Mu'assal means noble. So inshallah we follow this perspective to bring change, not to follow the change, but bring change, inshallah ta'ala, from Islamic perspective.
Yeah, Prof, I think your this last idea here, tajdeed al-mu'assal, one question not from the Zoom, but from other source. Your concept of a tajdeed al-mu'assal, he is speaking here about Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman in his book Crisis in the Muslim Thought, Muslim Mind. He used the concept of al-asala al-mu'asira. Al-asala al-mu'asira, and you are using the concept of a tajdeed al-mu'assal. But practically, how do we create this culture of doing this ta'sil or tajdeed al-mu'assal practically in our institutions of education or in our political institutions? How do we really create this or do this?
Alhamdulillah, the IIUM, ISTAC, These are all working for this. IKIM, Ibn Khaldun University, like we are all working for this. This is what ulama does. This is what Naqib al-Attaz was doing. This is all what we are doing. This is what Ibn Khaldun did in his time. This is the role of ulama, making tajdeed muassal, yani bringing Islam to their own day, making it speak to new generations, explain it to people, and show them how to practice Islamic values in their personal life, professional life, in the institutions. Of course, there is no end to it, but we are working to this goal, and we can never claim we do the perfect job. We do our ijtihad, we do our best, working all together towards this goal. And alhamdulillah, I see many scholars here, and even this majlis, this ilmi majlis, is very good demonstration how we collaborate, from Turkey, from Qatar, from Malaysia, inshallah ta'ala, for bringing Islam to today and making it easily, plausibly understandable to the young generations, being the chain in the social memory, transmitting our social memory to new generations, inshallah ta'ala. This is the ultimate goal of epistemic sustainability, moral sustainability, and civilizational sustainability. And we are engineers, architects, and workers of this project. We all work for this goal, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. There are many questions in the Zoom and also coming to my WhatsApp here. If there is any other one want to speak directly, please welcome. But there is one question here, Prof, saying very enlightening lecture. Can you kindly explain why the madrasa, which are Islamic schools based mainly on moral education according to Islamic values, are getting sidelined and ignored by governmental educational policies? What is your reaction, Prof, to this question?
There are two sides, the madrasa side and the government side for this issue. The madrasa must renew itself and the governments must become like more democratic and open-minded, inshallah. So there are two sides of the problem. And inshallah, we help the madrasa to revive itself, update itself, and then help the government people to be more open-minded, inshallah ta'ala. On the one hand, like, elevate the quality of education in the traditional madrasa system, because they deviated, from their original mandate. And also, we have to, like, after we have like serious education in those traditional madrasas, then explain the situation to the government people, inshallah ta'ala, so that they support them. But there is an exerted effort to sideline, these traditional madrasas and replace them with the modern academic institutions. This is a bigger issue, a large issue. And this is how much I can say about this.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. This is our brother.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be part of this conversation, and thank you very much for your invitation. I'm happy to see like many friends in the audience, and inshallah, COVID ended, so inshallah we get together in person.
Yeah.
And
Sure, Prof, sure, inshallah. We want to see you face to face.
Yeah, inshallah, for the civilizational sustainability, epistemic sustainability, moral sustainability, inshallah, we work all together as Khaldoonians, inshallah, al-Khalduniyun wal-Khalduniyat around the world.
Yeah, I think that's
get
great.
Together and work together.
Yeah, thank you.
My warmest greetings, my warmest salams, and thanks to all of you, and thank you for this invitation, and thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I think that's really great. And all your answers also will be part and parcel of this lecture, and the video will be distributed and promoted, inshallah, to many other platforms so that people can benefit from this. I think there will be many other times where we can maybe go into the details of the very many ideas which you mentioned here. One of the brothers was saying here a very loaded analysis and pragmatic paradigm. I think it will be very highly appreciated to have the slides. Jazakumullahu khairan. So there was one question, Prof, if you still have some time, you can look at it. Thank you for your informative lecture, Prof. My question, does all nomadic tribes who has a Sabiya can build civilization?
No, I mean, according to Ibn Khaldun, society is civilization. Okay, but we are conditioned to think that civilization is like high buildings, civilization is technology, which is very disruptive of environment, but Ibn Khaldun's criteria for civilization is very different. This moral fabric, social fabric, this is what he takes into account when he decides whether a society is civilized or not civilized. So if there is like a central authority, there is religion, there is like normative system, this is civilized according to Ibn Khaldun. But unfortunately, we are so conditioned, by this, technological approach to civilization. If like we want a high technology to consider something as well. So I am sorry, like I have another meeting. Okay. I would like to continue this conversation. Those who have any question or any those who want to communicate with me, they can email me. You can share my email with them all. They can communicate via email.
Inshallah, Prof. Maybe before we really appreciate your lecture today, and I think we benefited a lot, and we will keep in touch with Prof as far as these lectures are concerned. And usually, Prof, do you see the screen, the certificate of appreciation? Can you see the screen?
No, I mean, I see you.
Okay, you see me. Okay, let me check whether I can.
Oh, yes. Oh, mashallah. Thank you very much.
But
yeah, I saw the
usually what we do, we will send it to you, inshallah, or when you meet us face to face, we will give you the real one.
Yeah. I would like to get it, from your hand, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. This is
after a nice Malaysian dinner,
Inshallah, Prof. This is really a great honor to have you with us here in this Istac-World Professorial lecture. It was really great, and I think there are many ideas and views to digest, and I think our postgraduate student can work on some of these very important ideas and deepen the things. And maybe before we end our professorial lecture, in our adat here in this professorial lecture, we will ask our Dr. Nick, our Deputy Dean in charge of Student Affairs, to give the last dua, and after that, inshallah, we will end our lecture today, inshallah. Dr. Nick, please go ahead and bless this majlis with your wisdom and hikmah. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullah.
Thank you, our respected Prof. Abdul Aziz Baraguth. Thank you also to our great speakers for such mind-blowing lecture. We are actually learning a lot from this productive and very informative lecture. Respected professors, brothers and sisters, let us pray to Allah for more blessings and rahmah in our life.
Ameen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم، ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع، ومن قلب لا يخشع، ومن نفس لا تشبع، ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. O Allah, we are seeking refuge in you from a knowledge that is not beneficial. We are seeking refuge in you from a heart that does not tremble, from a soul that is not satisfied, and from a dua that is not answered. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما، وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل فينا شقيا ولا محروما، وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you, Dr. Nick. Alhamdulillah, we come to the end of the Istac-World Professorial Lecture number 12 by Professor Rajab. May Allah bless you, Prof, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in your ilm and knowledge and your contribution to the ummah. I would like to thank all the professors, doctors, participants who are with us here today from Malaysia and elsewhere in the world. May God bless you all, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في أمان الله. في أمان الله.
بارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم.
جميعا إن شاء الله. في أمان الله. في أمان الله. جزاكم الله خيرا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, very great. We have ended the lecture. May God bless you all, our professors.